Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to make this meeting official, I'd ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Buvenkopf. Here. Pezza. Here. Leader.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Graham.
Here.
Hipskin. Absent. York.
Here.
Nybo.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Morley.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
Here.
Off to a bad start. Alderman Shea.
Here.
Apologize for that. 13 present, 1 absent.
13 present, 1 absent. We have an official quorum. And to item 3, we've got, as you can see, a celebration tonight. We've got the swearing in of our new Deputy Chief, Dan Buens, and also our new Sergeant, Michael Campisi. Chief Neubauer to the podium, and I'll be up here shortly to do some swearing in here. Chief?
Well, thank you. I'd like to recognize Deputy Chief Doherty, who retired Friday, making all these promotions possible. Yes? So the first promotion is going to be Detective Mike Campisi. He's going to be Sergeant Mike Campisi. Mike's been with us about 25 years. He's been a detective for 11 years, one of the few polygraph operators in the state of Illinois, so we can never lie to Mike. He can see right through that. He'll be going back in patrol. Mike, come on up, and the mayor's going to swear you in. His wife, Cindy's here. Cindy, come on up. And he's got some family, his brother, sister, stepdaughter. Sir, you have the floor.
This is the favorite part of my job. When you know, the key to Elmhurst is the quality of its people, and the people that serve this community, the policemen, the firemen, the public works guys. You know, you guys are our HR, you're our PR people. You're out there directly in contact with the residents, and we've got a great department, police department, fire department, and public works, and this is just a representation of the quality of the people we have. Today, Mr. Campisi is going to be sworn in as sergeant. So Mike, if you please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I'll read slow. Okay. I state your name.
I, Michael Campisi,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of sergeant for the Elmhurst Police Department to the best of my ability.
of Sergeant for the Elmhurst Police Department for the best of my ability.
I do hereby dedicate myself to protecting the rights,
I do hereby dedicate myself to protecting the rights,
lives,
lives,
and property of the persons whom I serve.
and property of the persons who I'm serving.
I pledge to be completely honest in word and deed,
I pledge to be completely honest in word and deed,
to provide equal protection under the law to all persons,
to provide equal protection of the law to all persons,
and to be fair and impartial in my treatment of all persons,
and to be fair and impartial with my treatment of all persons,
to adhere to the law enforcement code of ethics,
to adhere to the law enforcement code of ethics,
and to direct my daily efforts toward achieving the mission,
and to direct my daily efforts towards achieving the mission,
values, goals, and objectives of the department.
and objectives of the department.
I will at all times support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America
I will at all times support the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America,
and the state of Illinois and the ordinances of the city of Elmhurst.
and the state of Illinois and the ordinances of the city of Elmhurst.
Congratulations. So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
If we could have Dan Buen step up. Dan is going to be promoted to Deputy Chief tonight. Dan is, for the last 4 years, has been commander of the Detective Division. I think he's done every job on the police department. He has been a patrolman. He was a high school liaison for 5 years. Many people in the community know him from there. He's just done an outstanding job, and I know he'll continue to do an outstanding job. His family's here. Julian, you want to come on up? His son's here. Justin is going to come up and take a picture. His mother's here, Mrs. Flynn. Great to have everybody here. Sir?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chief. And again, another fine sergeant moving up to deputy chief, and it's an honor and privilege. I know I've known this man a long time, and he is a man of quality, and Elmhurst is blessed to have people like him. Could you please raise your hand, Dan? Your right hand. Very good. I state your name.
I, Dan Buens,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of deputy chief for the Elmhurst Police Department
of Deputy Chief of the Elmhurst Police Department
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I do hereby dedicate myself to protecting the rights,
I do hereby dedicate myself to protecting the rights,
lives, and property of the persons whom I serve.
lives, and property of the persons of whom I serve.
I pledge to be completely honest in word and deed,
I pledge to be completely honest in word and deed,
to provide equal protection under the law to all persons,
to provide equal protection of the law to all persons,
to be fair and impartial in my treatment of others,
to be fair and impartial in my treatment of others,
to adhere to the law enforcement code of ethics,
to adhere to the law enforcement code of ethics,
and to direct my daily efforts toward achieving the mission,
and to direct my daily efforts toward achieving the mission,
values, goals, and objectives of the department.
values, goals, and objectives of the department.
I will at all times support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America,
I will at all times support the laws, Constitution,
and the state of Illinois,
and the state of Illinois,
and the ordinances of the city of Elmhurst.
and the ordinances of the city of Elmhurst.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. How about another nice round of applause for all of our good police officers? For outgoing Deputy Chief Jimmy Doherty over there in the corner. Thank you, Jimmy, for all your years, 31, 32 years. God bless you. You've been a great asset, and the Park District is in a great position because they've got you now, too. So, and you're still in town, so that's great. Thank you. All right. All righty. We clear the room, and we get into the meat of our agenda, but it's the fun part, the part where we honor people, the part where we see people, good people getting promoted, staying in our community, protecting our people, seeing their families and their moms out here, and that's what Elmhurst is all about. Agenda? I can't find my agenda. Oh. All righty. As the room clears, I would ask to go on to item 4 of our agenda, receipt of written communications and/or petitions from the public. At this time, is there anyone that has any written communications and/or petitions? If there is, if you would rise and please present those to City Clerk Spencer, who's up here to my right in the peach sweater. We would appreciate it. If you'd like to present any petitions or written communications, please do so at the... you can give it to Clerk Spencer. That would be great. And she'll put it in the record and
Thank you.
make sure it's all recorded and documented accordingly. Thank you. Anyone else? Written communications and/or petitions from the public? Okay. At this time, I go on to our public forum portion of our meeting, and this is where we let people speak about any Elmhurst issue. And Clerk Spencer, do we have anybody signed in for public forum at this time?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor. 8 people tonight, and I'll start with Lisa Barnhart, 201 North Oak.
And if you could please state your name and go ahead, and we're going to give you 3 minutes to speak about any Elmhurst issue, and we appreciate you coming out tonight.
Great, thank you. Hi, my name is Lisa Barnhart. I'm a new board member on the Elmhurst Heritage Foundation, and I wanted to take this opportunity to encourage everyone in the community to join in the celebration of the reopening of the historic Churchville Schoolhouse on Sunday, September 26th from 1 to 4 p.m. We're offering tours of the schoolhouse, musical entertainment featuring the Conrad Fisher Elementary School Chorus. Please note that all City Council members should have received their invitation to attend the private reception that is being held this Thursday, September 23rd from 4 to 6 p.m. We hope you all will be able to attend either or both dates. For those who do not know, the schoolhouse is situated on Church Road, just north of Grand Avenue in Bensonville, and it certainly has had a great journey. It was built in 1846. It's one of the oldest structures in DuPage County. The building served as a school through 1930. The Fisher family maintained the building after it closed in 1930 through the 1980s. From 88 to 2001, the property was maintained by District 205. From 86 to 97, it was used for living history lessons for elementary students. In 2001, the property was deeded to the City of Elmhurst. A restoration plan was developed to open it again for public use, which was finally completed last month. Residents of Elmhurst and the surrounding communities will soon have a close-up view of what life was like in a one-room schoolhouse at the turn of the century. Programs are currently being tested, and there's many exciting community programs that are being planned, including field trips for school-age children, featuring lessons with an old-fashioned school teacher circa the early 1900s, history-related tours and special events, cooperative seasonal programs with the Bensonville Park District and the Fisher Farm Homestead. Pilot testing will begin this fall, and field trips will begin in the spring of 2011. On a personal note, I'm very excited as a parent and a resident. As you may know, Elmhurst history is part of the second grade curriculum in District 205, and an important and memorable part of that program has been the field trip to the one-room schoolhouse. Children are given the opportunity to spend the day as a student in the late 1800s. After Churchill Schoolhouse closed in 1998, some schools took students to neighbor settlement for field trips. I'm thrilled that my son, who will be starting second grade next year, will be able to enjoy the experience locally. I take great pride in being part of the Elmhurst Heritage Foundation. Many of the members of the board that I currently serve with, and those before me, played a major role in making this 9-year project happen. The Elmhurst Heritage Foundation will be an ongoing financial supporter of the schoolhouse with an unwavering commitment to seeing the success. The Elmhurst Heritage Foundation is grateful to the elected officials who have shown support over all this time for this project. Moving forward, the entire community can take part in making history come alive for future generations. For more information, please go to the website, which is www.elmhursthistory.org, or call the Elmhurst Historical Museum. Thank you.
Thank you.
CJ Cote, 775 Emeroy. Okay. Microphone. CJ and AJ.
Get CJ and AJ going to the mic. Go ahead, guys.
We are CJ and AJ, and we live on the north side of Elmhurst. Dear Mr. Mayor, we are very, very mad of the selfish, inconsiderate speedos. AJ can't ride his bike because of the speedos. Me and AJ can't walk home safely or go to school safely because there are no sidewalks, no slow school zone signs to slow down cars. And if the police patrol the streets 6:30 a.m. to 3 o'clock 8 p.m., that might slow down the cars. Please consider putting in sidewalks by our houses so we can walk and ride our bikes to school safely. Sincerely yours, CJ and AJ.
Thank you, guys. It was terrific.
AJ Munoz, 721 North Van Auken.
I think they were together.
Oh, that was AJ. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't make the connection till just now. All right, Todd Benson, 391 River Glen.
Mr. Mayor, council, neighbors here in Elmhurst, first I'm honored to follow CJ and AJ. I'm here to report a couple of items. First, on the North Growey Woods Betterment Association in Elmhurst, dating back actually in unincorporated DuPage County in the early 30s. An association was formed on the streets of River Glen, Shady, and Ferndale, as well as the streets south of North Avenue. The association continues to be incorporated in the state of Illinois, and I'm told it's the oldest block association in our great state of Illinois. We have an annual meeting which was held this year on August 27th, attended by our two aldermen in the second ward, Mr. Leader and Ms. Shea. We thank you both for coming. The association members, about 130 strong, met on Ferndale and had a afternoon and evening of fun. They also had a business meeting at 6 p.m. They discussed various matters. They also elected officials. I, for some reason, again, got elected. I don't know how. But I, again, watch over those blocks and serve at the interest of the community. Two of their major concerns that I'd like to bring to your attention. The first is that they would like possibly better signage at the intersections of Ferndale, Shady, and River Glen, where it intersects with North Avenue. The do not block signs possibly could be illuminated at night, could possibly be set with some larger signage, a little more visible. The other concern the neighbors have is that the last time those three streets were improved or kept and maintained, which used to be the responsibility of the association prior to 1961 and the incorporation of that area into Elmhurst, the city is now supposed to maintain those streets. And we last had improvements in 1997 or 98. We talked about this about a year or two ago. Ms. Shea and Mr. Leader brought it to the attention of Mr. Hughes. He looked at it, put us on a list, thought that if the budgets were available, that we might get improvements this year. It didn't happen because of budget constraints. We hope that we will be at the top of the list come spring of 2011 or summer of 2011. Briefly, with time elapsing here, I'd like to make comment on the current use of the space on Hahn Street between Addison and York, the north of Hahn. There's 4 lots that have been merged together for the temporary use of parking. I found out the other day that you have to be careful where you actually park, even if you enter where it says free commercial parking for 3 hours. Not all of it is that way. There are actually 3 uses within that lot. I don't believe that because of the grounds have never really been improved, that their markings are weak and the signage is circumspect. It's possible that that could be improved, and I would ask that the Public Safety Committee take a look at that. I have had discussions with Ms. Pezza and others on the council regarding that. And finally, I know budgets are tight, and I understand that we're putting off a campaign to talk about shopping Elmhurst, but I implore that we try to weave that continuously into whatever we do. I, for one, will support that because I believe that we should be shopping all of Elmhurst and make our city better. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Benson.
Darlene Heslop, 200 North Michigan, number 227.
As a citizen, I am legally bound to follow the city code as it applies to me in any situation to which I may find myself. However, I now have to question as to how closely the City Council desires to follow its own rules, which are designed to protect the tax-paying public from exactly what transpired at the last City Council meeting on September 7th. We have the right to open, transparent, representative government, yet we are instead dictated to as to how our revenues are appropriated and denied the opportunity to participate in the decision-making process. What rights do we have when there are obvious transgressions of our municipal code by the City Council? May we have the opportunity to bring these violations forward publicly so as to seek out a fair resolution to that which has already occurred, as well as to gain much needed insight so as to not have this happen in the future. And what I did is I did go through the minutes from that meeting, as well as went through our city code. And the two that I'm referring to is in Chapter 2, Section 2.06, Council Rules of Order, subsection G, Robert's Rules of Order, and also subsection D, paragraph number 3. If a proposed ordinance is amended during a council meeting, then that ordinance shall be moved for passage no sooner than the first meeting of the council after such amendments are posed. So I do believe that and there was no suspension of rules or anything at the last council meeting in regards to passing the motor fuel tax. So I'd like to submit this to the city attorney to have him review this and have him look into this and to make certain that this doesn't happen again, because I would have liked to have been able to weigh in on where those funds went. I don't necessarily feel that having them go to a stormwater fund when we know that we've got snow coming up, so in the middle of January when we're trying to decide not what to do with the stormwater, but what to do with the snow, and to find out that we might not even have funds available to do anything with that snow, what are we going to do with that? How are we going to fund that? So that was my desire, was to be able to have a chance to weigh in on that. So I'm going to submit this, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Heslop.
Next, we have Scott, it's hard to read, Thiessen, and can't read the other name, something Wolf. 107 North Willow.
My wife and I live at 107 North Willow, which is in the middle of the sub-basin, which we were informed by our alderman is what it's called. It happens to be the lowest spot in town. We did get flooding in 08 and in this past July. We do get seepage and or yard flooding every time it rains. Now we realize that the flooding issues have many components, but we think a possible contributing issue, at least in our immediate area for our property, is the lack of street sweeping, or what we perceive as the lack of street sweeping. There's the drain for our property is at the curb right in front, or the drain for the block is right at the front of our property. It always fills with leaves, and all the stuff from the entire block flows to right in front of our property. We never see street sweepers, with the exception of today. My wife happened to see a street sweeper today of all days. But, she's unemployed. She's home. She never sees it, never hears it. I'm a teacher. I was home all summer. Never saw it, never hear it. Did a lot of work out in the yard. We never see street sweepers. And I look like a fool when I'm out in the middle of the street every week when I cut my grass and I'm out in front of that drain mowing the street to get rid of all the debris that flows to our spot on the block. Because if I don't, whenever it rains, my front yard becomes a lake, because the drain overflows into the street and then onto our property, and then all the work that I try to do in the yard to try and maintain the property flows out into the street and becomes garbage. Now, we have heard that the city only street sweeps residential areas twice a year. In my perception, this is totally unacceptable. It should be at least bi-weekly, because with all the trees that we have in this neighborhood, all those leaves clog all the drains. And in my particular property, we get a lake in our front yard. We know that this will not solve the flooding problem for everybody, but again, we feel it's a contributing issue, at least in our immediate area. It will, if we can help keep the streets cleaner and free of debris, the rainwater, when it does rain, will flow away faster, alleviate the problems in my yard, as well as all of our neighbors in that immediate area who also have flooding problems, help their rainwater flow away faster too. So it's just something I'd like everyone to consider, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Tamara Brenner, 137 North Caroline Avenue.
There were a few troubling moments during the last council meeting on September 7th, but the most disturbing was when an ordinance that was being presented for final passage after months of consideration was amended at the 11th hour and then approved as amended during the same meeting. I'm referring, of course, to the ordinance implementing the 1.5-cent motor fuel tax. As I was watching this happen, I thought that this just can't be right. Allowing a proposed ordinance to be amended and then approved as amended at the very same meeting goes completely against the notion of open government. It cuts the public right out of the process. It does not allow for proper consideration and research and debate, even amongst the aldermen on the dais. I'm incredulous that any of you who had not heard in advance about the plan to earmark the funds collected from the tax could vote in favor of that, given the limited 20-minute discussion that occurred at the time. And I'm surprised that nobody up there questioned whether it was acceptable or not to go ahead and vote for the amended ordinance immediately following the vote to amend. I've been under the impression that there are rules in most places defining the process of bringing forth and eventually approving ordinances, and our city code indeed addresses this very issue. Please refer to Chapter 2, City Council, Section 6, Council Rules of Order, subsection DD, Proposed Ordinances, Reading and Passage. Paragraph 3 says, if a proposed ordinance is amended during a council meeting, then that ordinance shall be moved for passage no sooner than the first meeting of the council after such amendments are passed. By amending the motor fuel tax ordinance and subsequently approving the ordinance as amended during the same meeting, it appears that you council violated city code, possibly invalidating the actions taken on the ordinance at the last meeting. Perhaps one of the aldermen could pose a question to the city attorney later in this meeting about what remedy there might be to correct this lapse in procedure. Or the city attorney could advise if I'm reading the city code incorrectly and explain the discrepancy. Also, while I'm on the subject of procedural irregularities, I'd like to ask about motions to call the question. Robert's Rules of Order clearly require that a motion to call the question be seconded and that a 2/3 vote be achieved in order for the motion to pass and thus to stop debate. I've noticed that as practiced here in Elmhurst, motions to call the question are neither seconded nor voted upon, which seems contrary to city code. Perhaps the city attorney could also advise where I'm mistaken my interpretation here, or maybe he could direct me to the city code this council is actually following, because it seems to be a bit different from the one I've read on the city website.
Thank you.
Kathleen Sullivan, 133 Pine Street.
Kathleen Sullivan, 133 Pine Street. I live in the sub-basin with Scott and Kathy, who spoke tonight, and I believe that when we came and talked about the issues with Pine Street in 2009 and the sub-basin that our houses sit in, I think that they did say that streets that were highly affected would have the street sweepers come more frequently, and so perhaps in echoing his comments, we could look into that. I really came to talk tonight about the communication issue, which you said that you heard the message of the people at Bryan that they wanted more communication. I wasn't able to be in the room because I got there a little too late. But that was the theme of some of the communications that did come out immediately after the meeting. At that meeting, you collected, I think, 500 to 1,000 email addresses from concerned citizens, most who were concerned about flooding, some about Commonwealth Edison. And yet, I haven't seen any emails come to me from that list other than the one that came out the first week, such as with the information about FEMA. Yet I see you guys here at midnight often saying, please go contact FEMA. And yet if you came right directly to those of us who were affected and sent us the information, not only would you look good in our eyes, but we could forward the information to other people who we know, not only in Elmhurst, but even in other communities. And it would put Elmhurst in a better light. So I just wanted to ask you to use the tools that you have in your toolkit. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our public forum for those who have signed in for tonight.
Thank you, Clerk Spencer. I will officially close public forum at this time and go on to our consent agenda, which is item number 6. At this time, I would ask if there is anyone that has a question or possibly might want to vote no on any particular item to, at this time, let me know which item we might want to pull. Alderman Pezza?
Item N, like Nancy.
N as in Nancy. Okay, and anybody else? Okay, hearing none, I'd ask for a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda in its entirety, less item N. Alderman Wagner with a motion, Alderman Healy with a second. I'd ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Wagner.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner. Dudenkoff.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hipskin. Absent. York.
Aye.
Nybo.
Aye.
13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. That motion to pass the consent agenda, less item N, passes. And now on to item N, which is an ordinance. I'd ask Clerk Spencer to read the ordinance, please.
An ordinance to amend Section 4.04 entitled Economic Development Commission of Chapter 4 entitled Boards and Commissions of the Municipal Code of the City of Elmhurst, Illinois.
And at this time, I'd ask for a motion and a second to put this ordinance on the floor, please. Alderman Pezza with a motion, Alderman Morley with a second. Discussion. Alderman Morley, would you like to, or should I go right to Alderman Pezza? Alderman Pezza, take it away.
Thank you. I'll make it quick. I have already voiced my concerns at prior meetings regarding this ordinance. It simply has to do with the fact that the 14th designee would be and could be at times a paid $90 an hour consultant. I'm guessing this will pass, so I guess I'd just like to make a last-minute plea that if it does, that we can be cautious as to how often we send a paid consultant, and perhaps times where it's not absolutely necessary that they attend, they could obviously contact one of the members or read the minutes, or just so we could be careful with the funding and be aware of how much time where we're spending the money. That's all I ask.
Very good. Alderman Brown?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My comments are the same. I said them before, so I'll just leave it as 1 or 2 sentences here. I'm going to pass and approve or vote for this ordinance, but my concerns are the same as Alderman Pezza's. It's up to the city manager's discretion on who's appropriate to go to these meetings, but I would strongly encourage, like I did the last time we discussed this, to really make sure that if it is a paid consultant, that is absolutely necessary moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing none, I'd ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Pezza.
No.
Morley.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hipskin. Absent. York.
Aye.
Nybo.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
12 ayes, 1 nays, and 1 absent.
12 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 absent. The ordinance passes. We go on to item number 7, which is reports and recommendations of appointed elected officials, updates from myself. A couple things I wanted to bring up. I had the pleasure of going to Washington, D.C. Last Wednesday and Thursday. I was with 6 mayors. I was with the county board chairman and also one of the county board commissioners to lobby for transportation and stormwater funds and projects that we have in the future and are naturally always seeking. So it was a very productive trip. We were able to meet as a group with Senator Durbin, who was very gracious enough to actually come to Elmhurst. I met with over 30 mayors from both DuPage and Cook County regarding Western Access and regarding some of our stormwater initiatives. Western Access is very critical to DuPage County and also to Cook County. We actually had some Cook County mayors with us, which I think showed a lot of unity. It's about a $3.5 billion project, and in the project has on and off ramps at Grand and 294, which are vital, in my opinion, to our car dealers, to our industrial park, to Elmhurst, because that's, I think, what makes Elmhurst unique is its location and its access. So the meetings went well. We met with Congressman Roscom, Congressman Mika, Secretary LaHood, Congressman Lipinski, and had one-on-one meetings with these individuals. Advocates from several municipalities that had advocates in Washington, and the advocate from DuPage made those meetings happen. We're very productive, and I think we have a bipartisan will to get this done. The President is talking about a $50 billion stimulus bill for infrastructure. That may possibly, according to Senator Durbin, go as high as $250 billion to put into roads and stormwater infrastructure. So it's important that we have a seat at the table, have a plan in place, which Western Access is a plan in place that's pretty much shovel ready to go, and be in a position to get funding. And there are dollars out there, there are projects going on, so that we want to make sure we have a seat at the table and are top of mind. So all in all, very, very productive. It was great to be with the mayors who actually, I think, were great advocates. But we're all part-time mayors, so it's almost impossible for us to be out in Washington 24/7. But I think them seeing us once or twice a year is important because they know that we are all on the same page. We all agree that this is important. The airport is happening, and we need to benefit from the airport. It can't be just Chicago that's benefiting from the economic impact there. So, fortunately, Mayor Daley, who unfortunately is not running, but he was very much a regional mayor. Reached out to the suburbs, was for at Western Access. So we're hoping the new mayor in Chicago, whoever that might be, would be as supportive as he was. That's Washington. I also wanted to bring up, I think, some delightful news that I was able to see through actually one of our previous mayors who made me aware that Chicago Magazine has rated Elmhurst. There's a Who Bought Best in 1994, and talks about basically the best suburbs and the best places to buy and the most appreciation and quality of communities. And among the top 10 performers in the Chicago area, Elmhurst took 6th, and they rate this on quality of schools, quality of transportation, long history of appealing to homeowners. Elmhurst and Hinsdale were actually rated 5 and 6 in the top 10. Just so everybody knows, the top 10 suburbs that were picked, according to Chicago Magazine, number 1, and this is an appreciation or overall quality of place to live: Wayne, River Forest, Highwood, Clarendon Hills, Hinsdale, Elmhurst, Oak Park, Willow Springs, Glencoe, and Kenilworth. So I think we rate pretty darn high among some of the most quality suburbs in the Chicago area. So I think that's a good indication of good leadership throughout the years. People that have been progressive. We've embraced economic development, economic opportunities, and we've embraced quality home building, redevelopment, et cetera, and also managed it as well too to keep the balance. And I think that bodes well. So those are probably the 2 biggest things I wanted to talk about. Was the trip to D.C. I thought it was very productive, and some good news on the housing market, which I think we're all glad to see, given the climate in housing as we speak today. So those are, I think, good things that we should wear on our sleeves. So, and on to item number B, citizen survey. City Manager Borchert, we were trying to get this done last meeting, went a little late, but if you'd be willing to enlighten us here, that'd be great.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will quickly go over what I think the City Council did receive in the council dais packet last council meeting relative to a short PowerPoint. Again, just to highlight some of what is on the citizen survey report. The citizen survey report is on the city website. I'm sorry. Again, the city of Elmhurst has done this every other year since 1994. We poll about 10% of the community and mail it to a statistically valid random sampling of those 1,600 households. This cycle, there was 48% back. That is the 4th highest of the 9 survey cycles. So it indicates in a very, I think, stressed time of life, time of worldwide status and U.S. of A situation, and just issues locally. Fourth highest out of 9 surveys, highest response back. So again, kudos to the Elmhurst community in their desire and wish to help us all make good decisions by responding to the survey. I'm sorry. We do in the survey document provide the historical data, and again, it is available on the city website. It's been forwarded to the library and other governmental entities. They've got a hard copy, as well as certainly as the community does have access on the website. The slide to your left is just an indication of the 1,600 households that were polled. Again, they're random, and I think it shows a pretty random but well spread out sampling throughout the residential area of the community, the areas where there's not dots, there's people not living, which is why they weren't responded to. And again, the percentages reflect as shown on the right. The 6 quadrants are not geographically equal, so you wouldn't expect those percentages to be exactly the same. It just indicates some geographic significant lines of demarcation. York Street up the middle, North Avenue, the Prairie Path cutting east and west, and very good response back across those areas of the community. Here's a historical summary of the responses. Again, after 3 years of a downward trend, this year there was an upward tick in the number of folks that responded. Here's the tracking of fair to excellent and good to excellent. I would point out that in 1999, if you were to just draw a line up 1999, that was when the fund balance issue in the city's general fund began to be pointed out by finance staff, city staff, and the city council, and the city staff together as a team began to chart ways to deal with that decreasing revenue source, particularly in sales tax, decreasing fund balance, and begin to deal with that issue. And by design, it did over those years begin to affect the ability of the community to respond and deliver services. And I think it shows that the community sees that. Another cut of that across the community. Question 3.5 and 4.5 go to street maintenance. The winter of 2008, I would point out, was an incredibly difficult year for streets. And the citizen survey came out after that difficult year. There was a number of freeze-thaw cycles within the winter season. Freeze-thaw cycles play havoc with streets. The cracks allow the moisture freezes, the freezing, expanding ice begins to make potholes, a lot of potholes. It's big-time news in the city of Chicago and throughout, and the citizen survey came out in the spring after that season. You can see the community responded, and the city council, with its budget, with its direction, with its support financially, got after that situation. And you see the community, again, responds in their survey back, identifying, I think, an uptick in quality of streets. Again, for the first time, there was a number of questions, again, relating to the city council's commitment to work through the areas of service and to work through, in this very difficult economic times, how best to manage the budget while managing services. The survey asked for feedback from the community's residents as to these different levels of service and what was perhaps too much from that individual perspective, what was about right and what was not enough. This cries out to the city staff that all of the services that a city council in its wisdom has identified the community should get or would like to get and therefore gets it, were very good decisions, because the community is saying through this, in about all cases, that the services are about right or not enough, with very few folks saying that there's too much of a particular area of service. So again, this is a guide for the staff as we prepare our work in response to the mayor council's message to the staff on what would be the goals and objectives of the budget through the next budget cycle. The budget cycle is a 2-year operations budget and a 5-year capital budget. So again, would ask the council to use the citizen survey as a resource document as you are working with Mayor DeCiani on that mayor council message to staff relative to the budget. You get deeper into the survey instrument, I found it somewhat comforting that the 3 things that you like most about living in Elmhurst pretty much stays the same. As you look back to 1994, the highest percent response was central location convenience. That's still the highest, pretty much consistently across the line. Quality of life in Elmhurst is what folks like, is the largest percentage pretty much since 1996. First year that question was asked, it ends up being the second highest percentage response. Quality of schools very high as well. Those top 3 haven't moved around much. What 3 things do you like most about and least about living in Elmhurst? And taxes and airplane noise remain number 1 and number 2. I'm not really sure I understand the airplane noise issue, because it's more focused at the north end of town and at the east end of town, but percentages responding, that gets the one of the highest areas, as does just general traffic congestion. 3 biggest problems going forward. Here there's been a bit of a flip between taxes and cost of living or affordability. We've flipped around a little bit over the last couple of cycles, but again, the biggest areas of response seem to be the same. Again, quickly, we want to use it as a tool for the budget. It's been shared with the school and the park and the library, city center, and other stakeholders within the community. It does allow, again, the community to better understand the community. Will be highlighted in the next city front porch. It is already on the website. Hard copies are available at City Hall and at the library for review. We use this, again, every other year, and even in the other years it's referred to by city staff. And we know the mayor and city council use it as they prepare the annual budget goals and message to the manager. As the manager then works with this budget schedule, this is the budget calendar. We're on schedule. City department heads and their team are working on the 5-year capital budget as we speak. Those documents go to the finance department for their work in pulling them together and working with the manager and budget committee to make things work relative to dreams and realities, and a document that then goes to the city council. October 25th is a time when the mayor council message to the manager is put together. Mayor DeCiani will be working with you to get your thoughts, your input, and does his best to put all of that into a message then for the city's budget team to utilize as we develop then the budget. The objective clearly being the community expresses their desires to their elected officials, that being the city council. City council, if at all possible, can agree as to the goal or the target for what the budget is to do. City staff will definitely hit that goal. If we hit that goal and the mayor-council message is accurate, as we try to best perceive what the community's needs are, the budget review cycle will be a constructive process and will result in a budget going forward that will serve best the Elmhurst community. Any questions? I would be done with that summary. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, City Manager. Borchert, any questions for the City Manager regarding the survey or anything? Anybody? Okay. And hearing none, on to item C, our status of Stormwater Comprehensive Plan. City Manager Borchert, do you have any updates on?
Mr. Mayor, the contract documents have been forwarded to the Burke firm. They are working on that document for final approval. They've identified no issues. We anticipate that it will be signed shortly. They are fast forwarding on all of the aspects of that contract, even though the contract hasn't been yet signed by them. They sign first, then the mayor, city clerk sign it. It's just a matter of processing the paperwork, if you will. The work itself is being done. They've implemented it. I have distributed to the city staff a 8-page draft of the priority 1 for the assignment, that being the Burke completion of the request for proposal, identifying the components of what should be in the comprehensive plan. I have got, again, that 8-page document that goes over in detail what respondents to the RF request for qualifications should include, involving scope of services for the sanitary sewer system, the stormwater system, identifying what the city staff will be providing the responding consultants, and then several pages of what the responding consultant would be required to produce, which I feel very confident hits the target that the council described and which was put in their RFP. So we anticipate that the final wordsmithing of this document will be completed before the end of this week, and therefore by the end of this week, the 6 or 7 or so pre-qualified, to a degree, consultants will be invited to respond. And I would indicate to the press assembled, if in the article you would write, should you wish to write on this, if the city staff is continuing to consider other consultants that would wish to be invited to respond, we'll consider anybody. If they're reasonably pre-qualified, they'll be invited to respond. Elmhurst clearly wants as many qualified consultants to respond to this document as possible, to allow, again, the council the best pick of the not just the local region, but the consultants that practice engineering within the Chicago metro area to respond. We have identified with Dr. Burke that October 11th would be the first education format. There's a lot of work that he needs to get done that we've identified that's consistent with the, again, scope of their assignment on these education programs relative to the creek itself and to the storm system and to the sanitary system. That led us in an indirect fashion to identify that the first education topic will be on the wastewater treatment plant. Maybe not the item of the highest level of interest of the community, but yet an item of interest, and probably the quickest area that he can provide the support material for, in which we would, from a staff perspective, be best prepared then to provide that education program. So that will be the first education program, October 11th, at a committee of the whole meeting prior to the committee meetings that would be scheduled for later in that evening. That's the status of the effort. Again, behind the scenes of those higher profile items, city staff is continuing to respond to questions. We've revised the documentation necessary for the overhead sewer program. was a highly managed document when there was 5 or 6 responses. Still not too bad when there was 10 or so per year, but now that this year there's going to be 80 or 90 or even more, we've revised the paperwork to make sure we control that appropriately. That type of work is ongoing.
Very good. Thank you, City Manager Borchert. Questions, discussion? Alderman Nybo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we meet on October 11th, or do we traditionally take Columbus Day off?
That is not a national holiday. It is Columbus Day. No, I'm sorry. We do. Yeah, we work on Columbus Day.
And in service.
So therefore, we would anticipate that the committees would meet on that Monday night. When City Hall is closed, that's the target. Then any scheduled meeting of the council would push to the next day. But City Hall is open for work on October 11th, Columbus Day, but it's an in-service day. Won't be open for the general public.
For those of us that are of Italian descent, we may be honoring our Mr. Columbus, but we'll be here doing the business of the city, so we'll be downtown celebrating. I know some of us will be down there as well. So, good question, Alderman Nybo. Alderman Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, my only question is if I guess I'll speak in interest of myself, but for the the draft RFQ be distributed to the full city council if they deem necessary, but if not, I would definitely like to make a request to see the draft of the RFQ.
Good. I could, again, we've got some significant wordsmithing on the document we've got, but I can get a copy of it out tomorrow to the council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Alderman Rose.
Yeah, even I understand Alderman Bram's desire to look at that, but I want to make sure it's still going to go out by the end of the week.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So.
Very good.
And after we get it out to you all, I think we can. It's not that long. We can electronically forward it to you in a Word document. Any wordsmithing you have to offer, we'll certainly consider that. So it's but our effort would be to get it out by the end of the week.
Thank you.
Alderman Pezza?
Thank you, Mayor. 2 quick questions in response to something that was said at the public forum regarding the emails. I'm wondering, I guess, twofold. A, do we actually have permission, because they gave us those, to use them? And B, if we do, can we start to use them?
City Manager Borchert.
Yeah, there is a feature on the city website for notice back, and a number of folks have provided their email and asked to be provided that. So whenever the city does add information to the website on that area of Q&A on flooding, that automatic email will go out. So we have not done a recent update. We'll take a look at, I think, perhaps an opportunity. A lot of items have gone forward. We could do an update to the Q&A. When that update is posted, then anybody that's asked to be updated will get an email notice.
So all the emails that were given at the Bryan are on there?
No.
No.
Not specifically any emails that were provided at the Bryan. They would have needed to respond to the city's website indicating their desire to be email noticed of items. So it's a feature on the city website. You can ask to be notified of certain updates. And a number of folks have asked to be updated relative to the flood and stormwater area.
So we can't just take it upon ourselves to use those emails and input them for use?
It's been advised that we not do that unless we've been given permission. So we've provided for the opportunity for that permission to be granted on the city website, and those are the ones that we're using.
And the second question regarding the street sweeping, is there a set schedule for street sweeping that's set for the year? How does that work?
Yeah, there has been, as reported, street sweeping is one of the areas of reduced services from past levels of service. There are now, street sweeping is done on a contract basis, was done by city public works crews. It's been outsourced, and then in that contract there's now less cycles of street sweeping. City staff does sweep the areas, as mentioned, that are flood-prone in advance of significant rainfall events. I will make sure that I know Pine has been special swept in that regard. I'll check on the notion of the Willow Street area, which is in that same subbasin, and make sure that when there is that deployment of city staff for street sweeping in advance of a significant rainfall that's been forecast, that both Willow and Pine would be swept. And again, it's not fail-proof in that not all significant rainfall events are forecast, but there are now, as a matter of routine, the deployment of public works staff to sweep streets that are subject to serious street ponding in serious rainfall events.
Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to add, too, on the FEMA initiative, we decided to do an automatic phone call versus the e-blast because of the fact that a lot of the seniors don't have email. So, and we had turned that phone call around as soon as we had the information within less than 24 hours. So I think we've done 2 or 3 automated phone calls to the entire community citywide. And we're also communicating via email, but the phone calls are a lot more reliable because of the fact that the seniors that have been impacted, many of those folks don't have email. So, and I think city staff are following our lead, I think, in trying to keep people informed and on top of things. So, anything else? Alderman Gutenkopf.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a quick question about those phone calls. How do we get the phone numbers for the people that get called? How do we know that we've gotten as many people in town as we can?
Those are all listed numbers or people that have volunteered their numbers.
So if a number's unlisted, they don't get a phone?
If they're unlisted, they will not get a phone call, correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay. Could I have a follow-up, Mr. Mayor? If someone doesn't get a phone call and they want to, what do they do?
I believe they can go right to the website and actually register their phone number with the website. Is that correct, Mr. Borger?
I think that would work. I would suggest they do that and call the manager's office and so request that their phone number be provided to the automatic phone call blast contractor. We'll add it.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? Okay. We'll go on to item 8, which are ordinances. And City Attorney Storino, do we have to waive rules in this situation?
You do.
Okay.
On both items A and B. A
Okay.
motion to suspend the rules to permit consideration of both of these ordinances.
Very good. At this time, I ask for a motion and a second to suspend rules to consider these ordinances. Alderman Healy with a motion, Alderman Wagner with a second. Do this by voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. And to the that motion to suspend rules passes unanimously. And to item 8A, it's an ordinance. I'd ask Clerk Spencer to read the ordinance, please.
An ordinance proposing the establishment of Special Service Area Number 16 Country Club Estates for the City of Elmhurst, DuPage, and Cook County, Illinois, and providing for a public hearing and other procedures in connection therewith.
And it is for, at this time, I ask for a motion and a second to put this ordinance on the floor, please. Alderman Gutenkopf with a second from Alderman York. Discussion. Any discussion? Hearing none, I ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Nybo.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hipskin. Absent. 13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. The ordinance passes. And to item B, another ordinance. Clerk Spencer, if you could please read that ordinance as well. Thank you so much.
An ordinance proposing the establishment of Special Service Area Number 17 Sportsman's Club in the city of Elmhurst, DuPage, and Cook Counties, Illinois, and providing for a public hearing and other procedures in connection therewith.
And at this time, ask for a motion and a second to put the ordinance on the floor, please. Alderman Healy with a second from Alderman Wagner. What a hand from City Manager Borchert.
If I may, I know the City Council is aware of Ordinance 8A and 8B as a package to allow for the city to implement, after due process of a special service area notice period, to implement a special service area to allow a unincorporated area of Elmhurst that's attached to Elmhurst that has had nearly 20 years of contract fire department services from the city of Elmhurst. This area is currently served by the Bensenville Fire Protection District Number 1, which then contracts with the city of Elmhurst for service. That neighborhood has not been able to pay their contract fair share because of the state of Illinois imposed tax caps on the Bensenville Fire Protection District Number 1. Ordinance 8A and 8B, as they would roll forward and be implemented into special service areas, would allow the city of Elmhurst, in a collaboration with that Bensenville Fire Protection District, to allow Bensenville Fire Protection District to tax this unincorporated area for fire services to the level that they will be able to. But if the contract with Elmhurst requires that there is more to be collected, that neighborhood has asked that Elmhurst implement a special service area to allow Elmhurst to tax them for that supplemental area of taxes to pay their fair share contract amount. We anticipate that at the public hearing, which is October 18th, the city will have a short statement of its intent going forward, and we will be asking that the Bensenville Fire Protection District provide a short statement as to their intent for that neighborhood and for the Elmhurst community to understand, prior to going into then that 60-day notice period for petitions to be filed if folks did not wish the SSAs to go forward. This is again intended to allow the SSA to be considered and processed, ideally approved, and allow Elmhurst to then be able to do a tax levy in December to allow this neighborhood to pay their contract fair share amount for services from the Elmhurst Fire Department for the fiscal year 2011-2012.
Thank you, City Manager Borchert. Any other discussion? Alderman Rose.
Just so everyone understands, this process, I'm going to make sure my understanding is correct. This, basically, they are, we are allowing them to start on a process to tax themselves. So we are not adding any additional tax. So I think that's what people have to understand when they hear this. They are asking us to set up a system whereby they can additionally tax themselves to pay for this. So.
Very good. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Healy.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hipskin. Absent. York.
Aye.
Nybo.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner. 13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. The ordinance passes. And to other business, item number 9. Any other business like to be discussed? Alderman Gutenkopf with a hand.
Yes, I think this seems like an appropriate place to ask the city attorney if he wouldn't mind commenting on some of the questions raised by during the public forum regarding the procedure that we used to pass the ordinance at our last council meeting.
I apologize, but I think I know what you're asking. To answer the last part of the question first, I haven't actually had a chance to analyze or look. I mean, I looked at the section, but I haven't really made a decision or not prepared to render an opinion. But if, in fact, there was a requirement to suspend our own rules, we would just ratify at our next meeting the action in the ordinance. So, but I'm not prepared to say that we need to do that tonight. But I certainly will make that decision in the next couple days. Excuse me, in the next couple days.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Other business? All right. Announcements. Any announcements?
Alderman Wagner, with a hand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to announce that the 7th Ward had their town hall meeting last week. Alderman Mulliner and myself, as well as yourself, and Alderman York, and Alderman Brom, Alderman Kennedy, were all in attendance. And I thought it was a great meeting. It was productive, and I think those types of meetings need to be informational and productive. And I'd just like to again thank Dr. Burke and his presence, pro bono presence for that meeting was fantastic. And I'd also like to thank the Community Bank of Elmhurst and Chairman Bill Gooch for allowing us to use the room up top there. So it was a great event. I enjoyed it.
Well done, Alderman Wagner. City Clerk Spencer.
Yeah, just a reminder, candidate packets for those wishing to run for office in our local election will be available tomorrow in the administration office on the 2nd floor at City Hall. And the first day that candidates can circulate petitions for candidacy is actually tomorrow, Tuesday, September 21st.
Very good. Alderman York.
Yeah, I'd just like to announce that Alderman Hipskin and I are going to host a Ward 4 meeting on October 5th, beginning at 7 p.m. The meeting will be held at the Redeemer Center, which is located on the north side of St. Charles between Arlington and Kenilworth. The parking lot is on the north side of the center, and we'd kindly invite all Ward 4 residents to attend the meeting and let us know any concerns, and hopefully we'll be able to follow in the footsteps of a lot of the other great ward meetings that have gone on here in the city and see everybody there. Thank you.
And what was the time on that again, Alderman?
Starting at 7 p.m., October 5th.
Very good.
Yep.
Very good. Excellent. It's good that these ward meetings are important, and I'm glad to see the aldermen embracing these, and it's a great way to get input, and on kind of an informal basis too as well. So anybody else for announcements? Alderman Pezza?
Thank you. Perfect timing. We just received a notice this evening from the Elmhurst Police, and just a few days ago I was stopped and asked this question. I didn't have an answer, but now I do. The Elmhurst Police Department is sponsoring a one-day take-back campaign to help residents dispose of unwanted and unused prescription and over-the-counter drugs. It will be a nationwide event, and in Elmhurst it will be Saturday, September 25th from 10 to 2. The Elmhurst Police Department will accept the items in a Ziploc bag in the original container. So good timing for a question I didn't know the answer to.
Very good. Thank you, Alderman. Anybody else? Alderman Brown.
Yes, I just wanted to also announce that I believe it is this Wednesday, September 21st, from 4 to 8 o'clock at the Itasca Holiday Inn, 860 West Irving Park Road. There's an open public informational meeting about the Elgin O'Hare Western Bypass Study. And again, that's this Wednesday, September 21st, from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
Thank you. We will have staff there as well as possibly some elected officials too. If you guys are interested, you're welcome to attend. Wanted to make a couple announcements as well. That the York homecoming game is Friday. They're playing Downers Grove, and it's a big game. I think they're 4-0 right now, so they're undefeated. So come out and root on the Dukes. It's this Friday. Many Dukes up here, including Alderman Morley, myself, Alderman Mulliner, and trying to see if I'm missing anybody. We got a lot of IC guys up here too. We got the York IC rivalry going on. We got a couple Friars up here too. So it'll be a big game, and hopefully we'll see everybody out there, and we wish our young guys the best. And lastly, I want to thank people that came out and helped, either came or sponsored or whatever they did for the Brianna Walk. It was very successful. We had a great day and raised, I think, somewhere around $25,000 for CSLD. So thank you so much for all of your help, and help many local kids with autism and other speech and language disorders. So thank you for that. And any other announcements? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn. Alderman Morley, Alderman York with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
And